Hey guys, it's Captain Geek and welcome to an exciting tutorial. Today we are in After Effects and I will be teaching you guys how to create the Electro effect. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do that, so let's get started by making a new composition. Now this composition should be HDTV 1080 24 FPS. Unless you have movies that use different FPS, then just change the FPS down here, depending on what you like. And yeah, but make sure to keep it 1920 by 1080 because that is usually the resolution, and we'll keep it at 10 seconds and press OK. Now we have this blank slate thingamajig. Let's toggle transparency off for now so that we have a clear view of what's going on. So the first thing we need to do is go up to Layer, New, and Solid, and we'll make a new solid. This will be 1920 by 1080 as well. Just click Make Comp Size, and let's name this bad boy Lightning. Actually, let's name it Sparks, because that's what we're going to be doing first. So this is going to be our Sparks layer in that little video I just showed you. So it's going to have that little spark effect, and it's going to go pshow. So yeah, and it's going to be doing all of that. So Sparks, you can have any color you want. 1920, make comp size, and okay. Now we have our little layer here. So what we need to do is going to CC Particle World. So there's particle systems and particle world. You can choose whatever you want. I like to choose particle world most of the time. But yeah, as you can see, we have transparency now. So as you can see, it has this little particle effect. Not very intimidating or sparky right now, but that will be changed. First, let's activate motion blur. Now it has a blur effect when it's coming down. That is a good start. Next up, what we need, let's jack this bad boy up to 7, the birth rate. So the birth rate is basically how much, the rate it gives birth to the particles and spawns new particles, so to speak. Let's turn off all these grids except for position, sorry about that, and radius. Let's turn off motion path, whatever that is, and grid we do not need. Okay, just got that out of the way. Longevity, you can change that. That is basically how long the particle stays up. So as you can see, it says a low longevity, and then this has a high longevity. So basically, longevity, as you can probably tell, is how long the particle will last on screen. Next up, we need to go to the producer, and we can change a few things here. We can change the radius X and the radius Y. If you want to do that, you can, but I will not be doing that for this tutorial. Let's go into physics, and this is where we have a lot of our animation thingamajigs that we're going to be using. So let's go here, and first off, let's change it to viscous. It's a little falling effect, kind of like when you're pouring syrup. And yeah, so now we have the physics down. Let's go to particle and change the particle type to, what should we change it to? I think faded sphere would look nice. There we go. Looks spocky. So spocky. Next up, what we can change is, actually we need to go into the physics. Sorry about that. And let's keep that open and change the gravity up that. So as you can tell, gravity is basically how hard gravity is on your particles. So if you have high gravity, then the particles will be falling. If you have negative gravity, then the particles will actually be going upwards. So as you can see, these are giving you good ideas on what you can do later on. But yeah, anyway, let's drop the birth rate down to 5. See how that looks, pretty good. Change the velocity a bit. So as you can see, velocity is basically how wide a particle is in the animation. As you can see, they're widespread, and that looks chaotic, really chaotic. So what we need to do is just lower down the velocity, and there we go. So now I think this looks like sparks. You can lower the birth rate even more depending on what kind of sparks we want. This looks to be a good amount, 1.4, but it looks like a little spark effect. Another thing we can do is change it to fractal omni or fractal uni. No, that doesn't look good. Maybe explosive. That gives it a nice effect as well. It really just depends on what kind. I think I'll go with explosive for now, and then up the birth rate. Actually, let's leave it where it was. Change the velocity. This looks good. So as you can tell, it's mainly just about tweaking everything in your animation. I think I'll go with viscose actually. There we go. And you can change your mind whenever you want. Control Z is your friend. And Control Z, if you guys didn't know, is undo. So I will keep on tweaking a bit. As you can see, resistance. Maybe I should just leave that at 0. Yeah. What did I change? Let's see, this looks good. So yeah, that is basically it. I think that's all I will do. You can change the birth size as well. This is actually a thing I need to do right now, is lower the birth size by a lot, and then 0.01 for death size. It's a little too small. 0.05. Maybe 0.1. What the heck? There we go. That looks nice. Maybe a little higher, actually. There we go. And then another thing I want you guys to do, if you want, of course, is change the size variation. Now, the size variation, as you can see, when we have a 0% size variation, all the particles, as you can tell, are basically the same exact size, except for the animation. But now, if we change the size variation, some are bigger, some are smaller. I think I'll leave this at 78%. Looks good. Turn up the max opacity or turn it down, depending on what you want. Yeah, I think that looks good. Another thing we might want to do is go into glow in the effects and presets and put that onto there if you want. Oh, another thing we needed to do, by the way, is because this is going to be electric, we kind of want it to have that little pink effect. So we're going to go into here, change this to a little pink thingamajig, and change this to a little white, maybe? Actually, that looks pretty good. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Actually, let's saturate this a bit more. Let's go here. And that looks good. There we go. So now we have that little spark effect. We can mirror this if we want later on in the ending, but we can change the glow, as you can see. So without, actually, let's undo that. And without the glow, without the glow and with it, as you can see, there's a big difference. It really changes the way the animation looks. Now, if we toggle this off and on, as you can see, if you turn up the threshold, basically what it does is it focuses on the brighter colors and glows those. As you can see here, it leaves out these little bad boys, but activates these ones. So now if we turn off the effect, there's really no difference except for the brightness, which is what glow is. So I think this I will keep. You can change the radius if you want. I think this will look good. Turn up the intensity or turn it down, depending on what you would like. Turn it off and on. Just trying to experiment. Now the final thing we want to do before ending this part of the tutorial is actually changing some keyframes. So what we need to do is go into our birth rate and keyframe this bad boy. Let's actually move that keyframe. Let's undo. Now it doesn't have a keyframe. Let's go to 1 second. And page up. Turn off the birth rate. And remember 1.4 because that's the number we're going to be using. Keyframe it here. Page down. And then go to 1.4. And then page down once again. And then go back to 0. Now it has that little burst effect, and our final should look like this. Now, as you can see, that's a really weak little animation. So what we need to do is go to the part about there would look nice. Twirl this up and then press U. There we go. Now we have our keyframed parts. So as you can see, we can change where this happens. I'll lower this, and then as you can see, that looks a bit forced in my opinion. And by forced, I mean that it looks like there is like a shooting going on more than a spark hit or electrify hit. So what we need to do is bring this keyframe closer. Now we have, still not looking as great. Let's bring that closer. I guess that can work. Let's bring this a bit closer as well. And then, there we go. That looks pretty nice. As you can see, it looks like it got hit. What we can do is go into our birth rate keyframe and turn that higher if we wanted to. So now it has that. A bit more intense as well. There we go. So I think that looks good, and let's move into our next part. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to be doing is going into layer new. Let's create a new solid, let's call this, what should we call it? I forget what this part is called. The beam, let's call it the beam. So let's call it beam, make comp size, and we are done. So now, and for this one, I recommend using black because we're going to be using a blending mode. But anyway, what we need to do now is go into our animation with the pot. Okay, so next what we need to do is go into lens flare. Lens flare, there we go. Now we have this little bad boy. This looks pretty cool. Now what we need to do is change the blend mode, go to toggle switches and modes, click that, and go to mode and choose add, or you can choose screen, depending on what kind you like. I'm gonna go with add because it brightens the background colors. That looks nice. And now, as you can see, I moved the position. Do not move the actual layer itself when you're moving the sparks. Just move the center of the particle world. So now we have this, and as you can probably guess, what we need to do now is just change the the brightness and match it with the spark thing, majig, sorry about that. Anyway, let's go to lens flare here and change the flare brightness. Let's go page up and choose 0. Oh, that's O. 0. Press OK and keyframe that. Next up, what we need to do is go to page down. Oops, sorry about that. Actually, that's fine. U. Go to and then do 100. And then let's go to the part where the animation ends and change this to 0. Now we have this. As you can see, we need to make this a bit longer than the actual animation itself, so now let's try it. There we go, that looks nice. So now it has that little burst effect, as you can see. And now all we need to do is add a little lightning to this bad boy. So let's get into that right now. Okay, this is the last and final part to sell the effect completely. Another thing we might do is add some color correction later on, because I can talk today. Anyway, let's go to black solid 1, name this lightning, make comp size, and throw this bad boy onto our timeline. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's go into lens, actually not lens, lightning. Now you can, there's a lot of them. You can choose this lightning, not really that great, as you can see, but there is a lot more flexibility with this bad boy. As you can see, there's more segments, speed, stability, whatever. Branching, you can turn that up or down if you want to. Actually, it only goes down. But anyway, we do not want this effect on our timeline because it's bad. It's very bad. So what we need to do is go into Advanced Lightning and throw that bad boy on. And as you can see, it's already looking much better. Much better. So now we can go into the part. 1 second. Let's position this here and this about here. As you can see, that looks pretty sick. Pretty sick, bro. So let's move this lightning layer under the beam, and now it has that little pink effect along with the other one. So now let's change the lightning type to two-way strike. And as you can see, now we need to drag this even more far out, but this makes it so that it can become small and then big, and then small and then big. Now what we can do here is we'll do this, we'll make this go, if you want it you can make it really long, but I prefer to keep it over here about. And then now what we need to do is change a little properties in his. So there we go, that looks pretty nice. Let's go into 1. Leave it here. You can change the forking, and forking is basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. It just shows how much it forks out. There's turbulence, is basically what that is. And then there is decay, which is how far the forking goes, I'm pretty sure. So let's turn that bad boy up. As you can see, you can make it really high, but we do not want that. Actually, you're actually making it lower. Anyway, now we've got this. I think that looks pretty good. What can we do? We can change the core settings, make this a bit brighter. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, let's undo that, and let's add a glow after we keyframe, after we start keyframing our animation. So what we need to do is add a keyframe for our origin. Go 1 keyframe down, and as you can see, there's nothing. So there should be nothing in the animation. So now this is completely gone. I'll hit you over here. Why didn't that add a keyframe? It's weird. Let's undo that. This is weird. Okay, so we added a keyframe. Now let's go page up, and let's change this bad boy to here. Maybe it's the direction that changed. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. Maybe this is what's supposed to be changed. I'm not really sure what properties I'm changing every time I do this. This is changing the origin. So I've got that. Let's go page up and change the origin back here. Why you no add keyframe? Oh, there we go. Now it added a keyframe. That was weird. Anyway, let's move the time ruler. Let's make it aligned with the beam, maybe. And ooh, that's not good. This is not supposed to be easy eased. I guess it's fine. So we can leave that easy eased. You guys do not and should not actually do this. I probably messed up with the recording because of my hotkeys. Anyway, let's turn this all the way down. Actually, what we do here is actually go to T for opacity, so Shift T, and add a keyframe here, and then let's go out a bit and turn down the opacity. There we go. Now we have this. That looks pretty dang cool if you ask me. Maybe we can add a little turbulence to this bad boy if we wanted to. So let's go to turbulence, add a keyframe for this. Actually, what does turbulence do in the first place? Actually, we can leave it as is. Looks like a little... There we go. That looks pretty good. That looks nice. Now what we need to do is we can add a glow to this bad boy to make it look all the more cooler. Glow, and add it onto our lightning layer. Now we have this little thing going on. Actually, it's so turn up the glow threshold all the way. Let me turn it off. This is kind of a problem. Maybe if we change the colors to like red and press OK. Does that change anything? Not really. Glow colors, original colors, and B colors. I'm wondering how we can like change this up. Okay, so let's delete the glow, kill the glow for now, and add a little glow in this itself. So go to glow settings. You can change the radius on this, but that is not what we want to change. Unless you want to change that to like a pink as well, but we do not want that. We want a blue along with the pink. So we change the core settings. So we can go to core and change the core radius, make it a little higher. Actually, what we need to do first is turn up the opacity all the way, and then we can turn this up a bit. And another thing we can do is I just thought that we could maybe, so if we go to our lightning and keyframe our glow radius, not glow radius, sorry, core radius. So we can keyframe that over here about. Yeah, I think that would be good. And then let's press U. U again. Okay, there we go. Now we have our core radius. And now we go about here works. Yeah, I think here would be good. And change the core opacity down. Oops, sorry about that. That was not meant to be changed. The core radius down to about this. Now let's see how this looks. Another thing we might have to do is actually make this animation a bit longer. That means U2 sparks. Actually, I think we can leave the sparks as is and just focus on these bad boys for now. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's actually make it up to here. Or should we make it a one set? Oops, do not want to move that at all. Change this up as well, and this up. Now let's try. That looks awesome right there. That is the look I was pretty much going for. So that looks pretty cool. I like this a lot. Another thing we might need to change are the sparks. So you can go down here, go to the sparks, and change the... Ooh, this is actually like really... Alright, so let's try this. No, that doesn't look as good. Maybe if we go into 112. No, I think it actually needs to be left alone. Maybe a bit would be okay, but not as much, not nearly as much as the beam or this. Yeah, I think it needs to be left where it was because it does not want to be moved apparently. Not that it doesn't, like it's not moving at all, but like it just doesn't look as great. So another thing we can do if we wanted to, if you wanted to, that is, because this is your project, you can move the lightning under the sparks. So now we have a different look. not that different, but it adds a little more stylized look. And I guess that is pretty much it. Another thing you can do is, I think, which I am going to do, is add a glow to the beam itself. So let's stylize glow and throw that on the beam. It looks kind of too bright, so to speak. And it's not really changing anything now. Maybe if we turn off. Yeah, it brightens the core a bit. We can do that. Turn up the intensity. And a cool thing we could do is go into the U properties, and keyframe the glow intensity here. So let's hit U and U again. So now we have this. So what we can do now is go into glow intensity. Now that is 100 or 13 over there. Let's go page up. Actually, no, we gotta go up to, I think here would be good. And turn this down to like maybe 1 would be okay. Actually, it really wouldn't matter, but just wanted that cool effect. And we might want to tweak where this actually happens. So yeah. And then yeah, after adding sound effects, we'll have a pretty cool composite. And let's see, that looks good. I just want to test this out a bit. What we can do is actually trim the work area to just 3 seconds, and then trim comp to work area. And now we can just run preview to this. Let's see. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with the way this turned out. Totally happy. Actually, I'm really proud of how this came out. What else can we change? I don't think there's much to change, actually. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's pretty much it. If you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, if you did, like is always appreciated. And, yeah, as always, geek on.